You are listening to Visionaries Wrestling Network, providing your perfect podcast experience.
M is for Mason.
G is for Graham.
B for Thatcher.
This is the MGB Wrestling Podcast, the podcast with PG-rated material accessible to wrestling fans of all ages. Hi, my name is Mason, and here's proof that wrestling fans still live with their parents, my co-host, my dad, Graham.
Alright, this is the MGB review of the debut event of WrestleGate Pro from January 2019, which I believe was called Open Gate, and it was at Nottingham's Rushcliffe Arena. Now, we're going to be honest straight away, this is actually March when we're recording, and I guess one of the reasons we decided to record this was probably more one of my choices. We visited England in the summer. I'm from Nottingham area originally, and I really wanted to support local wrestling as it was, even though I don't live near Nottingham anymore. And we just haven't got around to watching it. Nova Pro has been around. There's been a few other local ones for us recently, so we just haven't had the chance to get around to it. We had a snow day on Friday, and we went to Pivot Share, and we downloaded it. Great deal. $4. It wasn't even £4. $4, and I think you could buy it for $7 as well. And you got the option of buying it for $3 more afterwards. I might do that, actually. I thought it was really good. It's definitely one I could watch again, I'm sure. I thought it was great.
Or, if you go to the next one and you buy Standing Remain Only, you could get the whole DVD for $5. For
£5, yeah, but yeah, it said if you buy any ticket, I assume they said that the Standing Room Only tickets were £5, that you get a free disc for that one. That's a fantastic deal. That really is good. Oh, there were some issues regarding this one, I found out later. Now, I better mention straight away, the indiecorner.com. I found that while I was trying to do some research for this, and they filled in a lot of gaps for me on things that I probably wouldn't have known about otherwise. So the promoter of this is Gary Ward, and he had some issues right at the start. Remember Nova Pro? I think they only had one match on their original card that actually made it to the first event. They had Jordan Devlin, who I'm sure you recognise, and Zia Brookside, who you might not know.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of the name.
She's on NXT UK. She's an up-and-coming star, kind of like Millie Mackenzie as well. I think she's kind of young as well. She might be 20, 21. And they got pulled by the show, not because of anything to do with WrestleGate. It was WWE. They recalled the people. Yeah, it's kind of bad, but in the end, I don't think it made any difference at all. I thought it was fantastic. All right, match one was El Phantasmo versus Ricky Knight Jr. for the, I think it's WAW television title, but I'm not sure what WAW is.
Confused. This was their first show.
Yep.
How do you have a title already? You just get handed a title randomly?
I don't know. Was it WrestleGate's own? I don't know. It could be from another organisation.
Oh.
Like when we're at Nova, the one that Sage Phillips defends right now. That's not from Nova Pro.
Sense.
So it could just be from another organisation.
Because if it was the WrestleGate Pro, that would be weird. Because, wouldn't you, give it to Jordan Devlin?
You would have it somebody.
Yeah.
Correct. You'd have somebody to begin with. Or that could be like the first
mind.
match. It could be like the winner of this match gets that title. Not going into the match at all directly. Anything before the match.
Yeah. El Phantasmo, he walks on the guardrail with, holding his fan's hand. And then he goes into, walks on the whole guardrail for the whole side. Yeah. And then he gets off. And then he goes and puts his glasses on the ref.
Now, my thought with this, and I got an injured ankle right now, I was like, he could slip and injure himself easily just before he even starts on this. I thought it was absolutely crazy.
I was scared that, one leg would go one side and then the other would go the other.
And
then he would fall easily straight on his dingo.
Well, he was struggling anyway. He clearly needed the person in the crowd whose hand to hold to get some sort of balance at all. We later found out that's his gimmick, though, because he actually does that on the ropes. But we'll talk about that when we get into the match itself. Anything about Ricky Knight Jr. as he's entering the ring?
No.
All right, well, the person I did the research on was Ricky Knight Jr. It said on the commentary that he's a third-generation wrestler. And when I was trying to research it, it's really difficult to find. I did find Ricky Knight. I'm assuming that was his dad. I'm not sure if that's his granddad. I couldn't figure that part out. Ricky Knight is really famous. He's from Norwich, and it's a whole wrestling family. And they did mention this as well. He has a very famous daughter.
Who?
I guess you don't know who comes from Norwich, then. Paige.
Oh.
It's that whole family. So, Paige's mom is also a wrestler as well. Yeah. And she's going to be at Nova Pro at WrestleMania.
Oh.
So
Ricky Knight is related to Paige?
Correct. That's the part I can't figure out exactly where, because I couldn't figure out the 3 generations of Knights. So I'm not sure exactly which one. Now, it did say Roy Bevis is known as the Zebra Kid, and that's what it looked like from his trunks. So as far as I can tell, I think there's Ricky Knight, Rowdy Ricky Knight. I think his son is Roy Knight, and then I think his son is Ricky Knight Jr. But I'm not 100% sure, and I could not figure that out.
So the Ricky Knight, it was the Paige's dad?
Yes, correct. Oh. So I'm not sure on the connection between them exactly. They might be half-brother, they might be brother and or half-brother and half-sister. I'm not 100% sure.
Wait, then who's the Roy Knight?
That could be the granddad. Or it could be his dad. Normally, if it's like junior and senior, it's normally dad and son. Yeah. But I couldn't find that 3rd generation. But I did find a Roy Knight as well, and that's what I'm saying. I couldn't piece it all together.
Or maybe
I looked
it's
several
his
times.
brother. Or
now, the mother of Paige is Sweet Soraya, and that's the person who's appearing at Nova Pro. All right, let's go into the match then. But there was some interesting things before we even started,
and
just on the
background.
background.
Still wrestles?
That I'm not sure.
I thought you said the whole family wrestles still.
Wrestled.
Oh, wrestled.
They might be. Well, the mom certainly does. Paige's mom still wrestles, like I said. But I don't know about anybody else.
That's sad that your mom is wrestling longer than you.
I think the whole thing with Paige is very sad.
Yeah.
That's a real shame that she had such an injury.
She got to go on WWE but her mom didn't. Did?
I don't think so.
And she got to have a movie with The Rock. That must be really cool.
That is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. All right, what about the match itself?
So El Phantasmo, he stops his chop. And then he ruffles the hair of Ricky Knight Jr. Mm-hmm. And then Ricky Knight, he's about to give a chop to El Phantasmo. He stops and returns the favor. I really like that. There was like a whole bunch of those. Well, somebody does something mean, and then somebody returns the favor. There's like a whole bunch of those.
There was one of that at Nova Pro as well, and I'm trying to think who it was. Huckabee. Travis Huckabee did that as well.
Mm-hmm. Ricky Knight, he tries to help El Phantasmo up, like he gives him his hand. Mm-hmm. He grabs him up. El shakes hands with him, mm-hmm. and then El Phantasmo, he gets him in a headlock as soon as that happens, and then sometime later, Ricky's on the ground. El Phantasmo reaches his hand out. Ricky accepts and then does like a headlock back. Mm-hmm. So like he gets his own medicine, like, fired back at him a lot.
They were very evenly matched at the start, that was for sure. They were trading moves with each other, you could see that.
El Phantasmo holds Ricky's hand and then walks across the top rope, like, from one corner to another corner to all the way on the other side, and then does a hurricane run off it. Mm-hmm.
The move was actually like Undertaker used to do.
Yes.
He went 3/4 of the way around the ring. I thought he was going to go around for sure.
Yes, I thought.
And he didn't. I don't. But we realized at that point why he tried to do the trick on the guardrail, because obviously that's. His thing.
And another cool thing was after every turnbuckle he touched, he punched Ricky to keep him like dazed, sort of. Uh-huh. So Ricky does a suicide dive, and then the guardrail tips over. Mm-hmm. And then El Phantasmo, he does a swanton bomb, then runs over to the other side of the ring, does a shooting star press, misses, then Ricky does a pile driver, and it's a 3 count.
Correct. I got a couple of little things at this. Right at the start of the match, it was very acrobatic. There was lots of quick pinfall attempts. Kick out at 0. The ref didn't even get his chance to put his hand down for even one. It was just constantly one motion, next movement, and they were just going really quick. The one thing, and I didn't write which one did it, I think it was El Phantasmo. He was walking on his hands around the ring, and that really reminded me of Chris Statlander, because I've seen quite a few of her matches recently, and it's that same sort of gimmick, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't have told me the name, if I would have heard the name, if you would have told me the name, and I wouldn't have watched it, I probably would have thought it was the El Hijo de Phantasma from Impact, but just a different name. Uh-huh. I probably would have thought it was him, but he was not even close. But
now, I think this guy might have appeared on Lucha Underground now. I think there was one like that we looked. A lot might be later in the match, I'm not quite sure. Some of those wrestlers are all connected as well with families and that. Like, they can be same for Mexico. They can have like 3rd generation wrestlers as well. Yeah. And they often keep similar names like LA Park and El Hijo de LA Park. You know what El Hijo means?
No.
Son.
Oh.
That's why they have those names. So it's the son of LA Park. So you can tell that makes it easier to know that they're related with each other.
Oh, is Puma King and Prince Puma related?
Don't think so.
Oh, okay.
So one of those was
Ricochet.
Yeah, one of those was Ricochet. I think that's a coincidence. But,
okay.
I'm not sure. Alright, match 2 was Session Moth versus Shax. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of intro for this one, because I know you have mostly the match for this one. So, it started off like that anyway, but it's going to change quickly. Shax, I found in Ringside World, and it says she's going to appear in the Maiden of Chaos Championship match. And it's announced for the 23rd of March in Bristol, and it's at Ginny Coucher, versus wrestler Shax. Ginny I've seen on NXT UK. Shax actually has some big-name matches coming up, so she's obviously an experienced person, particularly if she's in a championship match as well. And Session Moth I'd heard of, but I couldn't remember why. And I think she's touring right now over here. She's from Ireland, and then that's when I looked. She faces Faye Jackson at Nova Pro, Born to Run, so that's why I'd heard that name as well. She came into Darude's music, which is called Sandstorm.
Yeah.
She was dancing around, and the ref got involved. We hear that a lot on the power plays and at the hockey games, because I was thinking to begin with it was Zombie Nation, but I picked the wrong one. And actually, Session Moth is also going to appear at AIW this month as well. So that's another one we've been to as well, up in Cleveland. So yeah, so they are starting. I'm assuming that's in readiness for WrestleMania.
Yeah. So Session Moth comes out and rubs her behind on the cameraman. Then Moth comes out with a beer and drinks some, then gives it to the fans. It's a very relatable Sandman moment.
Yeah.
Then comes her and rubs her behind on the ref. Then someone comes out and puts Vaseline on her eyebrows.
Yeah.
And then she rubs her behind on her. And then she shakes her hands with Shax because it's like Ring of Honor. They have to shake the hands before that. And then she starts rubbing her behind on her for like a half a minute. And then, like, a man comes out. I can't remember.
Now, this is when the whole match changed. And I have the names here. It started as a one-on-one match, and it quickly turned into a four corners match. So it was, in the end, turned out to be Shax and Rory Coyle versus the Anti-Fun Police versus Session Moth Martina and Terry Izzet and Jack Sexsmith and Visage.
I have all of that, how that came to be. So, like, he rubs her behind on Rory Coyle.
Okay.
And then, like, they both, like, start beating down on Session Moth. And then Terry Izzet comes out and starts attacking, he attacks Rory Coyle and Shax. And so what happens is Terry Izzet, he has his own open challenge. So him and Session Moth are tag teaming against Shax and Rory Coyle. Then Jack Sexsmith and Visage come out. And then they start talking trash. Then the Anti-Fun Police come out and makes it a four corners tag match under Lucha House rules.
Oh, I forgot that part about Lucha House rules. Yeah. I certainly have the finish, but you probably do as well. And I have one other moment as well.
I have, like, some, but, like, Visage comes out with a whole wig. She's in the match. She's bald. Like, I didn't even know she had a wig, and then I look at that bald person, and I don't even know who it is.
I actually wrote down this. You were taking lots of notes, because you kept saying, time out, and there was a lot going on, because I was trying to find out more about Martina as well, because I recognized that name, Session Moth Martina, and then when I looked up, I was like, whoa, where did all these people come from? So, yeah, I missed little bits as well. There was a lot going on.
So, one thing was, I forgot to say, how Alley Cat does, like, the body cat and starts flexing? That's what Session Moth did.
Oh, okay.
She did the flexing.
Well, it's just the flexing. It's like a bodybuilding thing.
But then she does, like, the upper thing where her fist goes next to her head, and then Alley Cat does that too, and then she started doing it. Oh, it reminded me exactly.
I'm going to say Session Moth has probably been around longer than Alley Cat.
I know, but I don't think Alley Cat.
And you could do it independently as well. I'm sure there's.
True.
If you think of how many people also do the STF as well, there's like lots of people that do that. It's not unique just to one person, I don't think.
And like lots of people do suicide dives, but that's not even anybody's finisher.
Correct.
It's like just a regular move. Moth does a body cat. Visage goes on the top rope, and then like she puts and then she grabs both of the anti-police, and then she starts ramming their heads into her knees over and over and over again.
I remember that.
It's really funny. And then Moth turns around on the ropes and gets tired. Then Terry Izzet gives her beer or energy energy drink or whatever, and then she starts getting all pumped up, and then she dives. Therese dives. One of the anti-fun police dives, and then the other anti-fun police does a shooting star press all on top of them, and then somebody else is about to dive, and then Rory Coyle and Visage stop it.
Now, I know you mentioned Alika earlier. I know it's not exactly the same. But when Martina was running the ropes and she was looking like she was going to do a suicide dive, then didn't, then bounced off the ring and looked like it again. Kind of remember like Scaredy Cat a little bit.
Yeah.
Like she never actually did the suicide dive until she got the drink.
Oh, yeah, and another person's about to jump, and then they legit like go up on the top of the turnbuckle, and then Visage just throws them off. And then that ends a whole segment. And then one of my favorite moves, and the commentators really helped it, was the anti-fun police does a 619 to Therese it. Then the other one, he gets up and then he like staggers toward the other one, and then he does an AA. The commentator said that the 619 was a 6199999.
I heard him say that. Do you know what 999 is in England?
No.
That's the emergency call number. So here it's 911. In England it's 999. So, do you know why it's 911 in America?
No.
Because the old rotary phone dials, 9 was the furthest number, so your finger would have to go all the way around the outside of the circle. So that would take a long time to dial, right?
Yeah.
So 911, it's the full circle for 9, but 1 is right at the start. So you can do it quicker.
I didn't know how to do that. Like, I know you had to flick them up, but do you like push a button and then it restarts?
You push it to the end. Once it doesn't go any further, you let go, and that's the first number, and then you do it again for a second number and third number.
Oh,
but
well,
it's
then why
quicker
is
to
it
dial
91999 in England?
because it's easy to remember.
Okay.
You don't forget it. It's got to be something that's memorable because you need little kids to remember it as well. But you also don't want it something so easy that you could accidentally press the buttons like that. That's a good reason for it not being 999 here as well. With the same button, you could accidentally press it 3 times in a row. With it being a 9 and then a 1 and then a 1, that's not such a common combination.
Oh, okay. That I like the 61999. I thought he just exaggerated because it looked like it hurts, but that's really smart. It's like
That's clever, yeah.
6911 or something like that.
In America, it would be that, yes.
And then Visage gives both of the anti-fun police a black mask, so there's like 3 WWE moves in like 30 seconds, which I thought was really cool. Then Jack Sexsmith, which is Visage's partner, goes up to the top rope and dives on her, and then he allows Shax to cover.
Correct.
So like that's his own partner. And then he lets Shaq steal the win.
Correct. He just watched Shax and he didn't care at all. So there's obviously going to be some backstory to that, and I don't exactly know what it is. I would recommend, if you're interested in this, go and check out Jack Sexsmith on Twitter. I don't have the at handle, but it's easy enough to find. Go read the pin tweet. There's a very interesting question and answer and a little promo section. You can find out a little bit more about him. But it did talk about a changing character as well, so that might have something to relate into this as well. A lot of these names we're not familiar with because we don't really watch British wrestling at all.
I think Millie Mackenzie and Jordan Devlin were like the only 2 people that I really knew. And I knew Brooke Smith or whatever.
Oh, Zaya.
Yeah, Zaya.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I wasn't sure who you were talking about there. All right, match 3 then is Danny Duggan and James Mason. Now, I got something from the intro because you're going to do the main part of the match again.
Okay.
You actually recognise the music as well, and I'd already written it down at this point. So James Mason came out to Status Quo, rocking all over the world. James was 39, trained by Danny Boy Collins. And I was telling you, I was like, I remember Danny Boy Collins when I was your age. He used to be on World of Sport Wrestling. He was fantastic. I know Big Daddy was like the main character. Danny Boy Collins for me was the better one because he was a more technical wrestler. Yeah. Big Daddy, you just bounce off his belly. It's fun to watch, but Danny was the more technical one.
I'm just looking at the thing that I'm about to say right now, and I usually write the first or last name, whichever is easier, and I wrote Mason, and I was like, what? And then it's James
because that's
Mason.
his last name.
Yep.
Now, I said at the time as well, it was going to be tough to find because that's the name of an actor. And when I actually started researching him, that's how he got his name. The ring announcers actually suggested, hey, why don't you take the name of this actor, James Mason? So he did. That's how he got his name from that. James Mason is perhaps best known as being the captain of Team Britain in TNA Wrestling during the America's X Cup tournament in 2004.
Oh, I have that.
I think you have the World Cup, don't you? I think it's like 2006, but it was close. And as I was writing that down, I thought that was kind of significant. Now, actually, he was known as Teenager James Mason at one point. And on a card in 95 or 96, he was actually featured against Dave Fit Finlay. I know you know that name.
Yeah, Yeah.
And he was also featured in a match against Johnny Kidd, who I wouldn't expect you to know, but it was a name that I definitely recognised
Johnny
as
Kidd.
well. He was also on World of Sport when I was growing up.
Tyson Kidd?
No, I don't think there's any connection between those. Different countries as well. Danny Duggan, it says 2018 was insane, took a step back to reevaluate and train more, but was also able to tick a lot of goals off my list. Challenged myself, stepped outside of my comfort zone, failed, succeeded, burned out, and had one of my most constructive years yet. 2019 is all about quantity. That's from his Twitter feed, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely nothing for this match because I was doing all the research, so this is all you.
I have 2 more facts about them.
Okay.
Apparently, James Mason, the commentator, say that he's been wrestling for 26 years, and Danny Duggan has been wrestling for 27.
Oh, wow.
Actually, Danny Duggan said that in his promo.
Danny Duggan's for 27?
Yeah.
I thought Danny Duggan was younger.
That's what he said. He's been pro wrestling for 27 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, I knew James Mason was the older of the two. Or I thought he was the older of the two. I thought Danny Duggan was much younger. I thought he was early 20s.
Danny Duggan is part of New Japan.
Oh, okay.
And Mason gets pinned, Danny has both hands pinned to the floor, and then Mason lifts his right shoulder up, then his left shoulder up. Then he does like a bridge kick out 3 times. And then like Danny Duggan, he starts like jumping on him like Jordan Grace. And so he does that twice. But then he's still on that bridge. And that's just huge core strength. And so next they do like a figure 4 type sorta, but it's not a submission. They just like pin one, they kick out, then the other one momentum carries, and then the other one falls over, and then they start pinning, and then one and one and one, and then they get out. Danny slingshots Mason across like the whole ring. It's not like half the ring, like most of them, the whole ring. That's crazy, and it's gotta hurt, and it gotta take a lot of muscles to do that. So
Sure.
yeah. Danny does exactly like Logan does. So he gets pushed over the ropes, he grabs on, and then he like pulls himself up, and then like legs over, and then he does
That's got to take a lot of strength as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it looks cool.
It does.
Danny wins, but his feet were on the rope, so he was like on the top rope, pushing as much force as possible. That can't do much if your feet are on the first rope.
I wouldn't have thought it does much at all, but it's a good heel move though.
Yeah.
It looks effective in terms of setting up a rivalry.
It was a very technical match.
I like that you noticed that connection with Jordan Grace, because as we were watching it, that was my same thought as well. We've seen Jordan Grace do that a couple of times in matches, and I like that connection. Now, after that, in between the matches, we got introduced to Giselle Shaw, who was sat ringside. And you asked me, who's that? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I guess she's a wrestler. And we did find out she was trained by Lance Storm. And we also found out she was Azteca in Women of Wrestling, which is WOW. We can't get that. I've looked. I tried to. It's on some channel. I think it's in Chicago. I think it's based. Can't get it. And the reason I know a little bit about it is some of those wrestlers I already knew. Like, we knew Willow Nightingale. I knew she was Eye Candy. And there was one other one who we knew as well. Hollow O'Hara was there. Oh, I can remember her name. Thank you. So I knew a little bit about it. I've heard people say really good things about it, but I haven't had a chance to see it, so I wasn't familiar with who she was at that
Why do
point.
they change their names?
Just a character. It's basically like, they're kind of like superheroes, so they just give them something, rather than give a name Willow. I'm sure that's not her real name anyway, but that's like a real person's name. If you give them a name like Azteca, nobody has that name. It just makes them stand out a little bit more. Like Iron Man. Nobody's name's Iron Man.
Is it like actual wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, so they wrestle in those.
But they have characters
ways.
and they dress up a little bit and they look more like it's
so
pretty
it's
cool.
not like a TV show.
It is a
It's a TV show, but they're not like fighting crimes.
No. It's still wrestling. Women of Wrestling.
Yeah.
But it's just that they have
characters.
characers. Kind of like Shikara has that whole gig as well, where there are a lot of luchador type characters as well. Anyway, that led into the match, and you obviously knew that Giselle was going to get interfere in this, or something was going to happen with this match, because she wasn't introduced in the previous 2 matches, and if she was that important, she would have been introduced at the start. So this match was between Ayesha, Raymond, and You, which is YUU. Now, I got a couple of things to start this with. Ayesha was she was in the first Mae Young. She actually lost in the first round. I don't think I told you who she lost to.
No.
Toni Storm.
Whoa.
So she obviously, that was kind of a tough match. We obviously know Toni Storm is doing really well right now in NXT UK. She's also on Ring of Honor, and she was also on World of Sport. So she's been in a lot of things. And it also mentioned on the WWE article, she's had some training by Johnny Saint as well. I don't know if you know who Johnny Saint is. He's the general manager of NXT UK. And he's my era, World of Sport, the original World of Sport from the 80s. I remember him from that one as well.
What is World of Sport? Is it just like...
It was a TV show.
Oh, like, what do they do? Is it like mini
wrestling.
Olympics?
They have lots of different sports, but wrestling was one of those sports. Wrestling always used to be the first one that was on. His background is in judo. She's 23 years old, and the amazing thing, when you look on Cage Match, they don't normally have many ratings or anything, and they're normally really harsh on the ratings. Her average rating was 9.6. I'm like, whew, that's pretty impressive. Only 5 votes, but some of these people I looked up on here had 0 votes. So obviously people do know who she is, and they were very impressed with her. Okay, go ahead.
You gets the first streamer the whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned later, I was like, oh, that's the first streamer, and you were like, no.
Ayesha Raymond comes out with a mask, and then there's like a laser on it, which I really like it. It reminds me of like Wheelie Yuta and DJZ.
It reminded me of the Borg from Star Trek, but I don't think you've seen those
No, I
characters
haven't
yet.
seen that yet.
Spoiler alert.
Raymond totally overpowers you at the start, and then there was like 3 hard punches from you, but does nothing to Ayesha. 1 punch to you, she gets knocked down. Mm-hmm. So you can tell who's like the bigger and stronger person.
All right, I'm going to cut in with one comment here, just so you don't dig yourself into a hole. All right, the promoter announced after the match on Twitter that you actually had a concussion during that match.
Oh, okay.
So they might have had to try and finish that a little quicker. So, yeah, she probably did go down a little earlier, so they could wrap that match up quicker than they could, so she could get some medical attention.
So that's why I don't have too many notes on
that. Might be the reason, yes.
So there's been 2 injuries in matches? Wow, that's crazy.
It's not a great start, is it?
No.
It's a crazy business, yeah.
You locks on an armbar, and it looks like it seriously hurts. Her arm is bending all the way back, and it looks painful. And then Raymond wins with a powerbomb, and they explained who Giselle Shaw is.
Okay. Yeah, so Giselle.
Yeah, Giselle.
Yes, they explained who she was, and I think they're having a match at the next event.
Yes.
Which will be March 16th, I think we found out at the end. Alright, I've lost track of matches. Is this match 5? Shawn Kustom versus Niwa. It might be match 4. Shawn Kustom was born in Australia, but he lives in the UK. And I started looking on his pin post on Twitter for 2018 highlights, and I would recommend that as well. I like them when they post that as their top thing, and they have like a 3-minute video, 2-minute video, and they show you like the entrances, like their best moves. It really gets you, for wrestlers that you don't know, it really gets you a feel of what their style is pretty quick. So definitely go and check out Shawn Kustom's pin tweet. And he was the 12th Relentless Division Championship holder for over 200 days. Now, just to give you an idea of some of the names who have also been the Relentless Division Championship, because I haven't heard of Relentless personally. The 13th was David Starr.
Yeah.
Okay. 7th was Tyler Bate. Mm-hmm. And the 5th was Pete Dunne. Mm-hmm. Okay, some pretty big names there, right?
Yeah.
Alright, Niwa is 26 years old, and he's from New Zealand, but he wrestles in Mexico for CMLL. Alright, I'm going to do my best pronunciation right now. Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre. I found that from Cage Match.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. His gimmick, it said, was suited in CMLL, and he was doing fine work there. He was becoming over with the fans in Mexico. One of the best New Zealand wrestlers to have wrestled in recent times. That was a quote from somebody on Cage Match. Uh-huh. Now, the CMLL, because I'm not going to do this Mexican pronunciation again. It was founded in 1933. It's the oldest professional wrestling...
They said that on the commentary.
Oh, so I did...
that was part of my notes.
I was so happy when I found that out. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I found that out. Yeah, it's the oldest professional wrestling promotion still in existence.
That's crazy.
So I'm going to look that one up a little bit more later. And also, Niwa's won the NZ, New Zealand, WPW Heavyweight Champion for nearly a year. But he wrestled under a different name there. He wrestled as Johnny Idol.
I thought how long has WWE been around? Was it
60s?
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure exactly. And it wasn't even... Well, they changed their name as well, because it was... Now it's WWE. Then it was WWF. Somebody told me when it was Vince's dad who ran it, it was WWWF. So, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of the person who died recently. Bruno Sammartino?
Yeah.
That was late 60s.
Oh.
So, I'm not sure. He might have been mid-60s as well, but I don't think it goes back as far as the 30s, that's for sure.
Are you counting WWF and WWE?
That would all be the same.
Okay.
This one, it said it changed their name as well.
Oh,
But it was the same organisation, so you would still count that as part
like
of it.
same person.
Correct. Yeah, they just rebranded.
Shawn makes Niwa run into the ropes, then he spins him around, like he keeps running into the ropes, and then he like twirls him around like the ballerina. It looks really cool. And then he like does a huge punch, and then Niwa he does like the ugly duckling suit where his spit comes out. I really like that effect.
Rob Killjoy does that great.
Yeah. Shawn does a Chris Statlander moment where he just walks around with his legs up in the air and doing a handstand.
Against the ropes?
Yep, and then Shawn does a suicide dive, but Niwa catches him and suplexes him and then drop kicks him so hard into the barricade it collapses.
Yeah. They kept talking multiple times about the fact that I hope that these haven't been rented, because we're definitely not getting the deposit back. And they were brutal. There was a few instances where that happened. Now, I'm told, actually, that name I mentioned earlier, I think it's Gary Evans, the promoter. He was actually there. He was repairing them at one point, or he was standing them up. So he's very hands-on then.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't know his face or anything, but next time I intend looking before we go, and then we can look and point him out. Look, there he is. But
well, I guess it's one less worker for you to hire.
I'm sure he wants to be hands-on. I'm sure you'd want to know what's going on. You want to see how your wrestlers are doing. You want to make sure everyone's safe. Are they enjoying it? You can hear fan feedback really well if you're right there. So I thought that was a clever idea.
Yeah, and Westgate has a 20 count just like MLW. Shawn jumps onto the top rope with us slingshotting him into a drop kick. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So like he goes backwards into, and then it reminds me of Tyler Bate when he does like he jumps, his head just goes right under the top rope, and then his arms go over.
Yeah.
I really like that move, and
Visually appealing moves within this match, and not just this match, but in a lot of the matches. Yeah.
Shawn did a classic thing. He takes his elbow pad off, throws it at Niwa. Niwa catches it, and then Shawn basically gets a cheap shot. And then Niwa does a lumbar check, Cedric Alexander. Okay. And then Shawn does a Spanish fly from the top rope. And then you thought it was a suplex. I know.
Superplex.
Superplex. I know now. I know what Spanish fly is. Like,
all right, go ahead.
So you wrap their arm around. You sort of half hug them, but you're standing next to them, and then you basically just do a backflip. Okay. So that's the best.
Because the first one I asked, I was like, oh, and then this did it for a second time, and that's when we could figure out a little better what it was. But yes, I wasn't familiar with that Spanish fly before, I have to admit. And
Shawn Kustom wins with the Customizer, which I really like that move.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, I always wonder with things like this, did they come up with a finishing move name first and then come up with a wrestler's name?
I don't know.
Or do you come up with a wrestler's name and then try and come up with a finisher? Sometimes, though, you need a good name.
And after the match, they announced the next match for March.
They did. And it was really difficult to understand. I'm not sure if he was from Japan. The quality of the sound wasn't brilliant. His name was Aita.
Yeah.
Aita Kobayashi. He's a Japanese professional wrestler, but he's also known simply as Aita. He began his career with the Dragon Gate professional wrestling promotion, where he is still affiliated with, and he's worked matches for their United States-based sister company, Dragon Gate USA.
I think he's a heel, but I really like him already.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, no, I thought that was really cool.
He's a clear-cut heel, but I still like him.
Oh, I'm looking forward for seeing his match.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of when Shinsuke didn't really talk much.
Yeah.
It was that same sort of thing, and I like that.
And same with Asuka.
Less is more. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Asuka too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a quote next to my principal's office. Less is more.
And often that's true. Sometimes you try and do too much, it doesn't always work. Sometimes you just got to keep it minimal, but it kept you guessing a little bit. I
never understood that. Except the only thing I had was golf.
Okay. That makes sense as well. That definitely makes sense.
That was the only thing I could relate to.
I think this is why we agreed to do this podcast a year ago, so we could start learning things. I learned a lot watching this match and doing research and stuff. And that's you never know when you start what you're actually going to find out. All right, this is one of the matches I was excited for because I knew Millie Mackenzie was in this. Millie Mackenzie against MK McKinnan. And I didn't know who McKinnan was. I wasn't even sure if it was a male or a female when I originally looked at just the matches listed. It wasn't. It was a guy. So this is definitely an intergender match. I think most people know about Millie Mackenzie, 18 years old, and she's already like at the top of her trade already. She's an absolute star. All the things I've seen with her so far, so impressive. So let's go straight to MK instead. He's been the FCP champion for nearly 2 years in total. Now, same thing. You might not know what FCP, so let me tell you some of their previous champions as well. I got even more names this time, Mason. Trent Seven.
Yep.
Eddie Edwards.
Yeah.
Dave Mastiff.
Yes, yeah.
NXT UK.
Yeah.
Sammy Callahan.
Yeah.
Pete Dunne.
Yep.
Travis Banks. He's also NXT as well.
Okay.
There's some big names there.
Pete Dunne is all around.
Of course. In Britain. Because think how easy it is.
It's
like,
Britain.
if this is from Britain. Like in America, you got to travel. Like we hear people travel hours and hours because they go from like Chicago down to Virginia, down to Florida, and then back again. If you're in England, top to bottom's probably, I don't know, 8 hours. So if you live in the middle, you can get to a lot of these places. You can do somewhere Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I think they probably do it during the week possibly too as well. All right, I'll let you do the match.
Millie comes out with something on her ear, and I know you know who this is. She looks like a Vulcan with it.
She did. We already had a Star Trek reference earlier, but yes, she did. She looked like a Vulcan. Yeah, I don't. And you asked, is that deliberate?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I don't know if she was trying to. She might have had an ear injury or something.
Probably.
She might have been trying to protect it. I don't know. Not sure.
Probably because she only had 1 year tape.
Yeah.
She's 18 years old, and she already has. She's the best Britain wrestler in the UK, and she wrestles with 4 years of experience under her belt already.
I saw an interview with
She's
her
18.
last year when she was 17, and she was talking about doing her school exams, and they were like, did it affect her? And yeah, she's just been wrestling. It's amazing, 18 and already wrestling for 4 years. It's absolutely crazy.
If you think that's really good, wait till I have something else later. You'll be even more amazed with that. Millie's on the apron, and her head is in between the ropes, and MK does a swanton bomb to her neck. Mm-hmm. I think that hurts. You said it looked like nothing.
I didn't say it was nothing.
Well,
I said
barely.
I thought that hurt MK more than it hurt Millie, because it was more of a glancing blow. And yeah, he came from a good height, though.
Millie Mackenzie did the Three Amigos.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know who Eddie Guerrero is until I watched the... well, I knew who he was. I just haven't seen a match. So...
Since when? Before you watched this?
No, before I watched the Kurt Angle...
Oh, so within the last month?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right, well, as soon as this is finished...
I hated them because all I heard was their music, and I think it's annoying.
All right, well, it might be a slight thing. As soon as this is finished, we are watching Brock Lesnar versus Eddie Guerrero.
Okay. How old was he when he died?
Late 30s, I think.
Okay.
Either late 30s or early 40s.
Horrible.
Not old at all.
I don't like when they do that. That's just harsh.
Yep. Oh no, Eddie Guerrero's classic.
Yeah.
It's a shame you don't like his music because he's a really good wrestler.
I don't
Sasha
like
Banks
it.
loves him.
Yeah, I know
And you
that.
hear a lot of
that.
people. You hear a lot of people reference him, and a lot of people. Even on Twitter, you see like the anniversary of like 3 years after he died, 4 years after he died. People still talk about Eddie Guerrero.
Oh yeah, they said something about this was when just after the civil rights movement happened. They went to Minnesota, which everybody in Minnesota is basically white, and so Eddie Guerrero's Hispanic, and Kurt Angle's like, dude, you know you're Hispanic, and this is white land, right? And then Eddie Guerrero said, yeah, they still love me, and he was right.
Eddie was very popular.
Everyone wanted a high five.
Eddie was very popular. He was very charismatic, and that's why people still talk about him now.
Millie did the uphand suplex, and it looks absolutely great. So like he hooks her, so his hand hooks under his legs, and then she like pulls it. She has his hand, and then she does a suplex with it, and it basically flips him on his face while he's doing a suplex, which is cool. And then Millie, she locks in the octopus variation, and basically MK just taps.
Now, I think it's pretty obvious. My moments are pretty brief. Great offense by Millie, obviously. Just so many moments where it's like, wow. The crowd is totally over for Millie. As soon as she walks into the ring, everyone's cheering for her. And there was no other result that would have made sense for that. You wanted Millie to win that one. And she didn't disappoint. I had one particular one. Great head scissors. She just has such strength in her legs. She doesn't let go. Like, some of them you think it's the other person jumping and flipping. Some of the ones she did, you could see she was still holding on until the person had landed, and then she would let go. Just very impressive overall.
I have 3 things after the match.
Sure, go ahead.
The turnbuckles are like New Japan style, which
Yeah.
I just noticed at this point.
Yep.
And then the referee is like, looks like Buff Ref, but just a little younger.
You pointed that out, and I was like, is it? And I was like, no. I was like, it did look like it. At a quick glance, and from a distance, yeah, it did. It looked like the ref from Nova Pro, who we know. Yeah.
Millie Mackenzie has suplex on her tights, so she must like duplexes.
I'm not editing that out.
Why?
That's a very specific reference. You got to check out our other MGB if you want to know what that's all about. Okay, Space Jam. Why did I do? Oh. Alright, match 7. This is Maverick Mayhew versus Harrison Bourne versus Callum Newman versus Joe Lando. All 4 lads are in the age range 16 to 19, and they're all from Frontline Wrestling System. And Mason, I was promoting our other podcast because it was Friday, so I left this one to you because I just got the Twitter announcement. I was like,
okay.
You got this. And I was like, I'll write them down. It was actually a fairly quick match, so I didn't really have time to...
Yeah, it was probably the 3rd best match of the whole.
And yeah, and I said afterwards, I was like, oh... Because it sounded like from the reaction of the crowd.
2nd or 3rd, yeah.
Yeah, that I should.
It was really good.
This will be one I'm going to go back and watch. So yeah, this one is all you. So go ahead, sir.
So I promised you something that you would be amazed by if you were amazed by Millie Mackenzie. Callum Newman has been wrestling since he was 7.
Holy cow!
And he has 9 years under his belt of experience.
Wow.
So he's 16, but he has 9 years of experience.
Now, Jackson's 5, and he's been wrestling with you since he's 3. I'm going to assume it's professional training.
Yes.
It's not just messing around in the house?
No.
Okay. Wow,
So
I
then
didn't
I've
even
been
know you
wrestling
could
with
do
my
that.
brother since I was 7, too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm probably going to start training when I'm in high school. That's my plans for right now, but... So it's Callum Newman versus Joe Lando versus Harrison Bourne versus Maverick Mayhew. So Maverick's in the ring. 3 people come in, 3 people straight out. Callum flips over Joe into the handstand, into the ropes, and then stunners Callum, into a stunner. And then Callum did a Starship Pain. Starship Pain's like the Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, Johnny Impact, that type of character. He does Starship Pain, and Maverick does a Hurricane Rana. So Harrison is in one corner, and Joe is in the other. And then Callum Newman just keeps uppercutting them like Cesaro. He does 1-to-1, and then they go like this forever until Joe comes in, and then he just starts like beating them down. And then Callum, they all roll out to the ring, and then Callum starts getting ready for a suicide dive. So he does a suicide dive, takes out 3 of the men and 2 security guards, which is kind of funny. So he takes
That is funny.
Yeah, so he takes out half the security guards. And Harrison does a Spanish fly off the top rope, which now you notice that it's different. And Maverick wins with a awful waffle. It's basically just a pile driver. He just calls it the awful waffle.
Okay.
They all start shaking each other's hands, and then somebody comes in. Lucas Steele, and he takes out everybody. He just obliterates them.
And that was the part when I just finished doing all the promoting and I came back in again. Now, the part I also read online was the person who reviewed this also talked about the fact that this was a match that he didn't really care about as much because he didn't know the people, because obviously some of them were just 16 years old. He also said it was one of the most impressive matches as well.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks really well for this organisation when you can get young people in like that, and they can put on that quality of match this early.
Yes.
Like, can you imagine in 5 years' time how good those people are going to be if they're that level now? But yeah, no, I was impressed on the little bit that I saw as well. And yes, it's one that, because I said, should I go back and watch it properly? And you were like, yeah, definitely.
If Callum Newman wrestles to like Scott, if he's like Tommy Dreamer, who wrestles for a very long time and he ends up wrestling till he's like 57, that's 50 years of experience.
That's pretty crazy. I don't think Tommy Dreamer's 57. Tommy Dreamer's like 40s. PCO's in his 50s.
Yeah, like somebody like PCO. PCO's gonna wrestle till like he's maybe 60.
Could be.
Because he's doing
Well, he's got a 3-year contract with Ring of Honor
he's
now.
doing like deathmatch.
Not now
stuff,
he's in Ring of Honor, he won't be, but
he was in Nova Pro like a couple months ago, and he's like that age. Wow.
yeah.
That's just absolutely crazy.
Absolutely.
And King, who's 77 years old, 78 probably.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't understand
and he
that.
still wrestles.
I thought he was... See, once again, I think
he was
10 years too
77
old.
last year.
Oh,
which
he was?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he must be 78 this year.
All right. I thought you were 10 years high on that. Now, the other one I don't think you have seen, but I know you know who the person is now. PCO at Joey Janelle's Spring Break last year fought Walter. So you know Walter's...
I know who Walter is.
You know Walter's hard hitting.
Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't avoid the tough matches.
Which person do you think I don't know? I don't know who...
I
know who Walter and Joey Janela is. I just haven't seen a match yet.
Oh, no, I didn't think you didn't know who Walter was until fairly recently.
Yes.
Until he joined NXT UK. And I didn't
either. Like NXT TakeOver.
Correct, and I didn't know who
Has
was.
that happened yet? Pete Dunne versus Walter?
No.
Oh.
Not yet. Not sure when that's scheduled to be. Alright, match 8. This is Bad Bones versus Mil Muertes. Bad Bones, who they did refer to as John Klinger throughout this match, appeared in TNA in 2011, 2014, and he also had a match in 2017. Way too many titles for me even to look at. It was absolutely crazy.
Anybody big?
Just so many. Now, I'll give you an idea of where he is. Remember that PWI list, the top 500?
Yeah.
Some people we didn't know at the time. We probably should go back and look at some of those, because we might recognise a few more now. Bad Bones was 285.
Whoa.
That's not bad. That's pretty high. We saw names lower than that who were like, oh, we know who those are. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good. Now, Mil Muertes is actually... I don't know if I want to say old, because I might be doing myself. I'm actually 3 weeks older than Mil Muertes. So he's 43 right now.
I want to see you wrestle.
No, my ankle would not cope. Put me in an ankle lock and I'm done. He appeared in Lucha. Now I thought I recognised the name straight away, and that's why I looked up.
The commentator said that.
Yeah, he was Lucha Underground 2014 to 2019, one-time champion. He was also 5-time International Wrestling Association champion during a 5-year spell between 1999 and 2009.
Bad Bone comes out with the jacket like Macho Man, and he has like the tassels under it, which it's a definite Macho Man in the Macho Man colors. It's not like purple and green; it's the red and yellow. Mil Muertes, where are you gonna put the Vaseline on him? He has a mask on because he's like Lucha Libre. Where are you going to put if you can't see his eyebrows and then you can just have the little eye hole, where are you going to put his Vaseline? Just put none on?
You said you were going to come back to that and you never did. We talked about it on the first match and then we noticed it on every single person after that. You said you were going to mention that and you never came back to that.
Oh.
So, yeah, they do it for every single person and you asked why. I assume it's just to reduce the chance of getting cut. I assume, but I don't know for sure. I've never seen any other organisation do that. That might be an English thing. I don't know. I don't watch enough British wrestling to know for sure.
Maybe Matt would know. Matt would probably know.
Yeah, he'll send us a tweet after he's listened to this.
So, like, do you just not put any Vaseline on? Is that it? Or just push his mask up a little bit? I really don't know. I didn't see it because Bad Bones came in. Bad throws a chair into the ring, but Mil just swats it down like a fly. Like, he's big. He's a lucha person, but he's...
Luchador?
A luchador. I forgot the name! And so he's big, though. Like, it reminds me of Killian Dane, or I can't remember. It was somebody in, like, the War Games. It was one of the War Raiders. It was, like, the bigger one. Mm-hmm. He's doing stuff like Samoa Joe and acting like he's a 205 person. But Bad looks like Luke Gallows and Savage Gentleman combined. Like, he has that kind of, like, look.
I think that beard was part of it, but also that jacket when he wore it. Certainly not when he was from the side, it really did.
Yes.
When you saw him front on, you were like, I don't know, I'm not quite so convinced now. But yes, I would agree with that.
Mil Muertes and Bad Bones trade like 50 chops on the outside. It's like absolutely crazy. I'm surprised their chests weren't bleeding at this point. And then whenever the guy says cleaner or whatever, Bad Bones' real name, it sounds like Klingon. Another Star Wars reference.
Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek.
Ooh, you're going to really upset people if you say that.
What?
Star Wars. Star Wars and Star Trek are totally different.
If you don't watch Star Trek, you better watch it now so you actually understand these. Bad Bones does like a double axe hammer off the top rope and onto the floor, like the apron. That's high. Mm-hmm. Instead of like the top rope is decently high onto the... WWE says from the apron down to the floor is 5 feet. I don't think it is because
Didn't look like it.
Because Hornswoggle's about my height and I'm 4.5 feet, and Hornswoggle's about he's a little taller than the apron.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not 5 feet.
No,
they
it's
must be
not.
exaggerating, like like they usually
Like
do.
the hardest part of the ring is the apron as well. Yeah,
I think it's the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
Bad hits Muertes with a chair, but the ref said, well, first he gets Bad Bones gets thrown into all the chairs, and his head almost touches some nacho cheese. It's kind of funny.
I'm sure that's the least of his worries.
And all like the chairs collapse, and then Bad recovers, and then Bad's about to hit like Muertes with the chair. And then the referee just grabs the chair, but Bad Bones, he starts grabbing the referee, but the referee is very nice in this match. And then the commentator says he's going to buy the ref a beer for being so strong, but then he says, oh, never mind, Bad Bones just going to take them all. But then the ref gets a little scared and drops the chair, so Bad Bones starts hitting Muertes, but the ref doesn't do anything. And then Bad Bones, he starts pushing the ref inside the ring, which was, now this is getting a little over the top. Like, you're supposed to wrestle the wrestlers, not the ref. It's not the buff ref one either, so he can't defend himself.
I do have one small move here. There was a superplex, and one of the commentators said, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
I hate that phrase. That's a deliberate word. I just don't like that word at all. I don't think that should have been used in commentary at all. They're more technical than that, but...
Another thing is, Muertes does a Canadian destroyer off the top rope.
Uh-huh.
And
The Puerto Rican destroyer?
Yeah, a Puerto Rican destroyer.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's for real or just what they said. He wants to spear Bad Bone, but then he actually accidentally spears the ref, which Bad Bones, being Bad Bones, is probably gonna give him a low blow or something, but he didn't.
Now, after that Puerto Rican destroyer, Bad Bones got out of the pin because he actually grabbed the bottom rope.
Yeah.
So that was how he escaped from that one. There was one thing before that as well. There was 10 hits in the corner. You know how they count them out? 1, 2. Now, with it being Mil, though, he started counting in Spanish. He was like, uno, dos, tres. And then the commentator realized he didn't know all the numbers. And his co-commentator had to come in. He's like, siete? And then he carried on. I don't think they even got to 10 in the end. I thought that was kind of funny, though. We don't really learn Spanish in England. Because we learn French first, German possibly second. I guess if you learn third, it would be Italian. We don't really learn Spanish. But over here, with a bigger Hispanic population, it's far more common. But I guess it was impressive. You probably knew up to 5 then.
I can speak Spanish, like 1 to 10 forward, but I don't think I can do it backwards.
Well, I think Jackson probably could do 1 to 10 because you learn it really probably before you go to school.
Yeah,
you don't really understand it very well. But...
right now in PE, I guess I'm doing better in Spanish because one of our teachers, she knows like sign language too in Spanish. So now we have to, when we do our stretches...
Why do you need sign language for 10? You just point up the number of fingers. I got 2 fingers up, 2.
Well,
I got 3 fingers
I was
up,
just saying,
3.
But like, I was just saying,
whether it's English or Spanish.
So when we do our stretches, we like stretch for 10 seconds, so we have to count in Spanish.
Okay.
Or we like do the months or the weeks.
That's 12.
Yeah, I know, but
the weeks.
Yeah, days of the week.
Oh, days.
Monday,
of the week.
Tuesday,
okay,
Wednesday.
I know what the days of the week are. That's not 10 either, though. Okay, so that's
I know,
a smaller
but
stretch.
technically it's like 2 over, 3 under, same thing.
Okay, I got you. All right, back to this match.
You made me lose where I am. Bad Bones, he does a self-justice to Mil, then does the elbow off the top rope. I think that's Macho Man, right?
No, actually, you missed one bit. After the spear, they actually went looking for another ref. He was looking out. He's like, I need a ref because I pinned him and there's nothing happening. And that's when the self-justice by Bad Bones
and then
came
the
in.
ref comes in, and then, like, that counts to 3.
So that would be the
Great
end of the match
show
then,
of
right?
respect to both wrestlers. Then they shake hands, then Bad Bones, being Bad Bones, gives Mil a low blow. Then hits him with 6 times with the chair. And then the reporter asks him why he did that. Then Bad Bones punches the reporter, hits him with the chair, and then Bad attacks a security guard.
Yeah. And I think he said afterwards, and I didn't write this down actually, I think it says he's got a 3-month suspension for that.
He did?
Yeah, I didn't write that down, but I remember reading that somewhere. So, okay. Final match. This was the main event. This was Chris Ridgeway against Jake McCluskey. Chris is aged 25. He's 4th FNW British champ, and over 2 years at the time of recording. Other champs, just to give you some names, Marty Skull and Mark Andrews, that we've seen on NXT. So not many times. It might be a new organisation, but actually, if he's held it for 2 years, then yeah, that's kind of a long reign. Jake McCluskey, 4 years ago, at 380 pounds, Jake McCluskey could barely walk a single block without catching his breath. This month marks the completion of a challenge he can hardly believe himself.
What?
He's run on every single street of San Jose, down all the long rural stretches around each crevice of the city's many cul-de-sacs, running from 3 to 5 hours every day. He completed the 2,400-mile challenge in 452 days.
Whoa.
He set out on his first real run starting with a single block. He ran at night time to avoid embarrassment. Eventually, he built up his endurance to 15 miles, and within time, he had completed a 100-mile run. That's pretty impressive,
So
right?
he couldn't walk a block without catching his breath?
He was 380 pounds.
Oh.
Now, that's not the Jake McCluskey that was in this match, but I couldn't find anything about him, and that was the first one that came up, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty cool story. Nothing to do with wrestling, but I thought you'd be impressed. You were impressed by that story, though, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not cutting that story out. Jake McCluskey is kind of a common name, I guess. I guess I could have Googled Jake McCluskey wrestler, but I saw that story first, and I thought that was pretty cool.
You said that Chris got injured in the match.
Ridgeway said on Twitter later he aggravated an injury 2 minutes in. It's like, wow.
Jake has glowing bands on his wrists, which are really cool. And then the wrestlers, they get lots of streamers thrown in. I don't know who for who. So one just grabs a streamer, then the other one grabs a streamer, and then they start wrapping themselves around it like alley cat, and then they shake hands. Now it's part of the match.
Now that sounds kind of weird, actually, because that's the kind of a really friendly type of moment thing. That's almost like a comedy thing. But I've got for this match, I don't know how much, that it was really hard hitting, or hard kicking in some cases. So that's kind of surprising that it went so friendly to so violent so quickly,
They
actually.
like wrap themselves around with the streamer, and then they shake hands.
Yeah.
Chris is on the ground, and then Jack is running around the ropes. Chris, boosts himself up and kicks him in the face, which is really cool. Like, that one arm just...
Not for the person getting kicked in the face.
No, he just, pushes himself, really high with that one hand. Chris does a handstand, then still in the handstand, kicks Jack, and then he kicks him so hard that he falls outside the apron, which is,
Yeah.
Well, Chris is kicking Jake in the face. I said Jack the whole time. But I wrote Jake at the start, but,
That's alright, you got me to say Ethan Chase when it was Ethan Case on the last Nova Pro one, and I believed you, so...
not the last Nova Pro one.
Well,
The time at recording.
Correct.
So he starts kicking in the face, and then he gets bigger kicks. He swings his leg all the way back, and then follows all the way through. So that's, huge kicks.
Yeah. I got on one of those as well. Chris challenges him to kick him, but it seems to hurt Jake's knees more. He's like, go on, kick me. And then at the end, it was Jake who was hurting more from it, which was kind of weird. I don't know if they were just trying to show his chest was super strong or something.
Yeah.
But it looked kind of a little bit fake to me.
One of the commentators sounds a little bit like Coach Mikey and Jason. Chris gets Jack into a very painful submission. Then Jack gets out of it and then turns it into an ankle lock. Which I see that all the time now because I've been watching the Kurt Angle collection. And Chris wins when Chris gets in an octopus stretch and...
He just keeps delivering blows to his head.
Yes.
The ref has to stop it because, he's just absolutely pounding him at this point. And, yeah, like we said earlier, Chris Ridgeway was actually injured 2 minutes in.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known. If I hadn't have read that, I would have had no idea at all. That was amazing that he could... And it's not like it was a short match either. It's not like they suddenly ended it quickly because of it. As far as I could tell, it was a normal length match for a main event. Yeah,
I'm happy of myself that I didn't mess up what... I could actually understand what the commentators were saying except for the Klingon. In England, I was at the pub or with Trevor one time. It was the club or something.
That's his stepdad.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my stepdad. That'll be your step-granddad, I guess.
And there was this man that wanted to talk to me, but I couldn't even understand what he said. And Granny C was there, and she said, "Don't worry, I can't understand too much of what he says either." There are
Cornish accents there. They'd be pretty strong right there.
It wasn't that. She said it was some, I don't know.
He could have been from anywhere in England.
It was I couldn't understand a thing. Granny C said that she couldn't even understand it. She's English. She's around those people the whole time.
Well, I'm going to say, I'm from Nottingham, so if I know I don't sound it right now, but if some of the words that they use would have been the same words.
I can mimic the accent this, but, I can't like change it to a Cornish accent to a Nottingham accent or whatever.
No.
It's like I can just make a all around English accent. But like same thing with America. There's like the
cheerio.
There's like
Have
a
a cup of tea.
Texas accent, and then
Yes.
there's like Virginia, and then New York.
Yeah.
So there's like it's same thing with England.
Now, we should say also, when we listened to this at the start, we talked about, do we want to do the full review, which we do for some organisations, Nova Pro, which obviously we mentioned a lot in this one, or do we want to do our top 3 moments, which is what we do on our regular MGB show for something.
Yeah.
Within that first match, before it even finished, it was like, whole thing. Without a shadow of a doubt. That's how impressed we were.
Yeah.
And this match had no fill. There was no fillers at all. Every single match I really enjoyed.
It was like the first 2 matches, I was like, okay, these are just really good matches.
Yeah.
And then the third one hit, okay, now we're doing the full show.
It was absolutely crazy.
I didn't know if it was going to be good because it's like English wrestling, and then there's not as many wrestlers as in America. So...
And you didn't know the people ahead of time
yeah,
either. Yeah,
so it could have been like...
it could have been bad. Yeah, we might not have liked it at all.
But it was good.
I had no idea, except for, and the other reason I wanted to do it was I heard people talking on Twitter, and people said how amazing it was. So for that reason as well, I was
without Jordan Devlin and Zaya Brooks.
Yeah, with even without those 2 people, they still managed to put on a heck of a show. And so we're gonna. This is the first one. Next one's March 16th, so as we're recording, it's only 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
These will probably come out in April, I think, sometime, or one might even come out in May. But yeah, no, we definitely were very impressed, and we will definitely be watching more of these.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
The music was Zigzag by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0, http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/3.0.